What's up, everybody? In this video, we're gonna be covering all of the high-yield essentials when it comes to human and animal reproduction. Remember, for D3.1 reproduction, we have 3 separate videos. Now, speaking about reproduction, we have Moto here, named so nice you'll say it twice, and Melman competing over Gloria. It's a lovely triangle, a love triangle. Now, Gloria is here saying, man, nothing is gonna happen unless somebody get me a ring. Get me a teach me bio.org ring, and then I'll start thinking about it. So guys, yes, make sure to check out our website teachmebio.org and get access to all of our premium resources. Now, without further ado, let's just get started with this video. There are 2 kinds of reproduction that you guys need to know about: asexual and sexual reproduction. For the majority of this video, we're gonna focus on this one right here, because this is the kind of reproduction me and you need to do as humans. Now, what is asexual reproduction? Well, asexual reproduction is when you take a cell and you make an exact genetically identical copy of that cell. Just like this. So there's only one parent required, and the baby is the exact same as the parent. Now, what about sexual reproduction? This one is a little bit more tricky. For this one, you need a male and you need a female. You need a mom and a dad. That's what's different, because your dad is gonna pass on the sperm and the mom is gonna pass on the egg. And when these two meet, bam, that is gonna be your first cell. So that is the key difference between asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Let's dive a little bit more into sexual reproduction. Let's say on the right here we have the male, Eminem, and on the left here we have the female, Miley Cyrus. So what's gonna happen is the male is gonna make a sperm through a process called meiosis, which you guys learn a ton about in another chapter. Now, this sperm is gonna be the male gamete, the male sex cell. At the same time, the female is gonna make her own thing, which is the egg. And the egg is the female gamete, and that is also made through meiosis. Now, when these two finally meet, man, they working hard and they finally reach each other. It's destiny. That is called fertilization. Now their DNA will combine into one cell. This will be your body's first cell. We call this a zygote, your very first cell. This cell will divide and divide and divide by asexual reproduction, man, making copies and clones of itself until your full body forms. And eventually, when it's big enough, your full body will form, and that is you, a little infant, man, boss baby. Now, here is something I want to make very, very clear. Sperm and egg, these gametes, they're very unique. Why? Because they only contain half the amount of DNA compared to a normal cell. They only contain 23 chromosomes when it comes to humans. Now, but that's on purpose, because guess what? When they come together and they combine their DNA, now we will form a cell that has 46 chromosomes. All of these cells here have 46 chromosomes. That is the normal amount for a human being. Now, to be clear, sexual reproduction refers to this process right here of the male gamete meeting the female gamete to form your very first cell. And from there, that cell dividing and dividing and dividing, that is called asexual reproduction. Now, I want to mention one last thing. Notice how I said for the offspring when it comes to sexual reproduction, they are genetically unique compared to both parents. What I'm saying is these cells right here of the offspring are genetically different from either of the two parents. They're similar but different. Now, the reason why they are genetically unique is because of a few things. Number one, meiosis. There are 2 key processes called crossing over and independent assortment that makes this sperm totally unique from the male parent and the egg totally unique from the female parent. Now, guess what? When they come together, when they meet, that is super random. One random sperm, it could have been any sperm, but now one specific sperm will meet one specific egg. This is random fertilization. All 3 of these things adds up to the idea of making a genetically unique cell, a genetically unique baby. From this point on, we're going to dive into the details of the reproductive systems, the male and the female reproductive system. First, let's go ahead and start with the male one. What we have here is a zoom-in version of Eminem's private area, specifically the front view. Let's start over here with this one. This right here is the testes. This, my friend, is the site where sperm is going to be made. After it is made, it is going to go ahead to this area here, the epididymis, where it is going to be stored to mature, to learn how to swim. After that, it is going to enter this pipe right here called the vas deferens, and it will travel up the vas deferens all the way. And then it gets a little bit tricky here. Let me slice this whole area open for you. Well, before I slice it open, I want to mention what this pipe is. This pipe right here is carrying urine all the way from your kidneys down to your bladder. This right here is your bladder. So let's slice this open right here. We're going to slice open this whole area so we can see what all these rods and pipes really do. So here we can see that is urine in your bladder that comes from the ureter, and it's going to travel down here through this pipe out into the toilet, hopefully not your pants. That is the urethra. And this bulk thing right here is your penis. That is the mass of your penis. Now, we end it over here. Remember this pipe? It's carrying the sperm that was made. And check a look. Here is a little gland that is going to release some stuff along into the duct that contains the sperm. What is this? This is the seminal vesicle, and I want you to know that the seminal vesicle releases nutrients that the sperm needs in order to be able to continue swimming, the energy that it requires. And so this will go through here, and into this pipe, into the urethra, the same pipe that the pee leaves your body through as well. Now back here, we have another component, this yellow one. This is your prostate. This gland is responsible for secreting alkaline fluid, basic fluid, into the urethra. And the purpose of that alkaline fluid is to help the sperm survive the acidic environment of the vagina. Now, all of this stuff, the semen is called semen. All of this stuff being released, including the sperm cells, including the stuff from the seminal vesicle, including the stuff from the prostate itself, that whole combination looks like this, and that is called semen. Now, I want to stress one more thing here regarding sperm. Sperm, you should know, of course, looks a little bit like this, and there are three key properties that I want you to be aware of. Sperm are super tiny, and they are motile cells. They're able to move thanks to the little tail here called the flagella, and there are millions and millions of them made daily inside the testes. Just for you guys, here we have a big brain tip. Now, let's head over and talk about the female reproductive system. So once again, we zoomed in nice up close. This is the female reproductive system, specifically the front view. Now, first we need to slice this bad boy open to see what the heck is going on inside of it. So where do we start? Let's start over here. This right here is the ovary. This is basically the female equivalent of the testes. This is where the egg is going to be made, the female gamete, and it's going to be released into this pipe here called the oviduct or the fallopian tube. And ideally, it wants to meet this sperm here, but if it doesn't, it'll continue to move along and it will enter this big chamber here called the uterus. The uterus, this is normally where the baby grows. Now notice this structure right here, these red structures. This right here is called the endometrium, and we're going to talk a little bit later about what specifically this structure does. For now, let's pretend there was no sperm, and the egg never met its destined soulmate, and so it keeps moving, and it's going to leave now the female reproductive system through this little narrow passageway called the cervix. And then after the cervix, it encounters the vagina. And then from there, it will leave the body through the period, through the menstrual bleeding. All right, so that's the key structures. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the egg. There are some key details you guys need to know. Unlike sperm, egg is massive. It's one of the largest cells of our body. And not only that, it is sessile, meaning it doesn't have a tail to swim like sperm. No. It's gonna wait for the sperm to come its way. Now, unlike sperm as well, only one a month is made. That's pretty crazy, unlike the millions that is for sperm. And this cell is very nutrient rich. Now this brings us to in vivo fertilization. In other words, how fertilization happens inside our bodies like normal. We know the aim of fertilization is to bring a sperm to an egg to form a zygote. That's the big idea. But how does it happen in detail? Well, we need cooperation from both sides, both the male and the female. The male is going to ejaculate and send sperm into the female's reproductive system. It's going to swim because it's motile towards the egg, the normal place where fertilization happens happens is over here in the oviduct, the fallopian tubes. So let's go ahead and zoom into here to see exactly how it happens. So here we are in the fallopian tube. Here we have the egg, and here we have the sperm. The first thing that's going to happen is this sperm is going to go towards the egg and try and penetrate it. Very simple, penetrate it. It's going to wiggle past all of these teeny tiny little cells surrounding the egg, and then it's going to penetrate the membrane. And the moment it penetrates this membrane, it's going to release its genetic information, its DNA, which is, in humans, 23 chromosomes. And remember, the egg also has 23 chromosomes. Right at that moment, this membrane is going to start hardening. And the reason why it hardens is to prevent any future sperm from also penetrating and releasing their DNA, because we don't want that. No, no, no. One is just enough. After this, their DNA will fuse and mix together to restore the diploid number of chromosomes, the normal 46 that we want in humans. That, my friends, is how it happens. All right. Now, once this happens, this little guy, this zygote, is going to move from the fallopian tube to this area, the uterus, and embed itself into the endometrium because that has a lot of blood vessels and nutrients to supply it to grow and grow and grow and form the full baby. The next thing we're going to talk about is a little bit tricky, a little bit complex. It is called the menstrual cycle. This is a cycle of events that happens in the female reproductive system as it tries to make an egg and prepare itself to receive a baby. That is the thing in a nutshell. Now, this cycle happens from puberty onwards, and it is around 28 days long. At first, I just want you to pay your attention to this sexy diagram here on the left, and I promise you, later in this video, I will reveal the keywords that you need to know. So it all starts in a place far, far away, your pituitary gland. This gland is going to release a hormone called FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and this guy will act in your ovaries. It's going to induce the development of a follicle, hence the name follicle stimulating hormone. So, here's the thing. Many of you guys think that the egg here is alone, but that's not the truth. Around the egg, we have a lot of these teeny tiny cells, as you can see, called follicle cells. And this whole unit, the combination of these follicle cells and the egg, is called a follicle. So this hormone is going to stimulate the development of this follicle, like this. It's going to get bigger, it's going to develop. Now guess what? These little tiny cells surrounding the egg, part of the follicle, they will now release a hormone called estradiol. Estradiol is going to do a couple of things. As you saw, one of the things it does is going to stimulate the endometrium to proliferate, get thicker, get bigger. Check it out. Let me show you again. It's nice and thin. Once estradiol is released, it gets plumped up, full of vessels, full of nutrients, ready for the baby. What's next? Estradiol is also going to do something called positive feedback. It's going to go back to the pituitary gland and tell it, my man, make more LH. We need more LH. And this is going to eventually result by like day 14. It's going to result in something called the LH surge, where LH will skyrocket. And the moment it skyrockets LH, it will trigger the release of the egg from this follicle, kind of like this. Check it out. There it goes into the oviduct, the fallopian tube, and it's going to travel and travel and kind of wait for that sperm. Now, guess what this remainder of the follicle will turn into? Something called the corpus luteum. So yes, it's going to have a purpose. It's not just going to go ahead and die. This is going to turn into something called the corpus luteum, this yellow structure. And it's a hormone factory that specifically makes progesterone. And guess what progesterone does? If you missed it, check it out. This is how thin the endometrium is. And now, with progesterone, it gets even thicker. We're preparing even more to receive that baby. At the same time, this progesterone is also going to do something called negative feedback. It's going to go tell the pituitary, stop, halt, we don't want any more FSH, we don't want another follicle, we already made one, we already released one, no more, please, one is enough. So this progesterone will inhibit the synthesis of a new follicle by inhibiting the release of this hormone FSH from the pituitary. Now again, this guy will keep moving, and if he doesn't encounter a sperm, if no sperm ever comes, then this guy, the corpus luteum, will degenerate. It will degenerate, it'll get smaller, it will atrophy. And when it atrophies, now it will release less and less progesterone until it releases no progesterone. And progesterone's whole job was to make sure this is nice and thick and plumpy and stabilized. So when there's no progesterone, this whole area will start shedding. This is called menses, menstrual bleeding, and that signifies the start of a new cycle. So when looking at this process, there are really two mini cycles going on. This cycle happening here in the ovary, and at the same time, the cycle happening here in the uterus. So we can say there is an ovarian cycle and a uterine cycle. So here is my word summary of everything I just talked about. And I want to be very, very clear. When I highlight things in this light blue color, I'm talking about what's happening in the ovary. And when I highlight them in this color, I'm talking about what's happening in the uterus over here with the endometrium. So this is all one cycle, but different things are happening when it comes to the ovary, and different things are happening when it comes to the uterus. So I tried to clarify that a little bit for you guys. I think it is worth it now to take a look at this funny little graph. On the x-axis here, we have time from day 1 to day 28, exactly how long an average menstrual cycle is. And on the y-axis, we have two components, uterine cycle and ovarian cycle. Now guess what? Over here, we're going to show how the uterine cycle occurs throughout these 28 days, and up here, we're going to show how it works for the ovarian cycle, the two different components of the menstrual cycle. Let's start over here with day 1. We know day 1 is signified by bleeding. So over here you can see the thickness of the endometrium is being demonstrated. It is getting thinner and thinner and thinner as we're bleeding. Now the bleeding is called menses. And because it's obvious, this bleeding, we call this day 1, the start of the cycle. Now, the start of the cycle is when we're going to try and make a new egg. We need to make a new egg now. We need to restart. And the new egg, the follicle, is stimulated by FSH from the brain, and it will develop and get bigger and bigger. And remember, it will release something called estradiol, and estradiol will trigger the endometrium to become thicker and get ready for that baby. So you'll be able to see it get thicker and thicker over time. Now, estradiol, as it's released, remember, it's going to have a sort of positive feedback with LH. So LH will start to increase and increase, and it's going to eventually increase so much we call it an LH surge. And when it passes a certain threshold, it will trigger the egg to be released in a process called ovulation. Remember that word? Now, remember, the remainder of the follicle that is not released will turn into the corpus luteum, which will release progesterone. And progesterone, like estrogen, is going to help develop and stabilize this endometrium to be ready for that baby. But when there's no sperm, then guess what? This corpus luteum will degenerate and make less and less progesterone. And now this endometrium cannot be stabilized or maintained. So it's going to start shedding. And that shedding is called menses, which signifies the start of the very next cycle. Earlier in this video, I mentioned in vivo fertilization, which is the process of fertilization happening inside our bodies normally. Now, I want you to be aware that is something called in vitro fertilization. This is basically artificial fertilizations where doctors extract the eggs from the mother and then fuses it with a sperm artificially outside of the human body. And this is very helpful in some conditions where couples are unable to get pregnant naturally. Now guys, that is it for this video. I really hope it was useful. I hope we got something into your big brains, and we will see you guys in the next one.